My name is Alex, I'm 15 years old, and I attend Salem Heights High School in a Chicago suburb. That day after classes, I decided to take a walk through the wooded area to cut my route home short. The gloomy forest enveloped me more tightly, as if a monstrous maw was ready to swallow another victim. The dry crunch of fallen branches under my feet sounded like bony fingers scratching the inside of a coffin. A dank, cellar-like smell wafted over, and I shuddered, quickening my pace. Why, I wondered, did I head down this cursed trail through the thicket? Sure, it would shorten my way home by a mile, but was it worth risking it in such an ominous wilderness? Heavy dusk was already gathering above the treetops, and my path was becoming less and less discernible. Still, I stubbornly pressed on, fighting the growing claustrophobia. An underlying, elusive fear bound my muscles. As if some invisible presence lurked in the surrounding darkness, lying in wait around the next bend. Suddenly, something pale flickered ahead, and my heart plummeted. Swallowing hard, I quickened my pace, convincing myself it was just the trunk of a birch tree. But a fleeting motion I caught made me freeze again. This was definitely not a tree. A tall, gaunt silhouette advanced from the gloom, silent and sinister. Something in human form, but clearly twisted by inhuman torment. It seemed to tiptoe with an unsettling grace and fluidity. Dry twigs no longer crunched underfoot. The creature didn't walk, it glided, hovering above the ground in some otherworldly trance. Terror made me recoil a step, pressing my back against the rough trunk of an ancient oak. The monstrosity drew nearer, pale white blankness gleaming in the deepening dusk, and when its face took on clear outlines, I let out a strangled cry. It was human. Yet something far removed from common humanity. An elongated face with taut, desiccated gray skin clinging to the skull, so that every bone showed through. Sunken cheeks gave the impression of a death mask frozen on a corpse. Dried-out veins bulged across the entirety of its body, as if bound by constricting ropes. And in the empty pits where eyes should be, hellish flames flickered, devoid of any trace of reason or soul. Its toothless mouth opened, emitting a wheezing rasp. Freakishly long fingers with curved talons reached out, as if wanting to caress me in a ghastly dance macabre. Spasms rippled across its emaciated form, causing the bones to rattle like dried branches in the wind. I could stand this nightmare no longer. Casting aside all reason, I bolted down the trail, weaving a frantic zigzag between the black trunks. Dry twigs lashed my face, shedding cascades of withered leaves. And from the darkness behind me still issued that maddening sound of muted, joyless laughter of lifeless lungs that had lingered too long in the tomb's silence. And as I ran on, my legs seized by searing cramps, I heard something else. There, in the thicket at my back. Footsteps deliberately rustled through the undergrowth. It was in pursuit. I burst out onto the forest's edge, gasping for air, and never again set foot on that accursed trail. The next day at school, I recounted the incident to my classmates, but they only laughed it off as fiction. Yet night after night, I awoke drenched in cold sweat, unable to banish the sight of those empty, burning sockets, the rasping groans of a hellish spawn, the scraping of taloned fingers clawing the air for their next victim. And those footsteps. The incessant, intentionally rustling footfalls of the undead that had trailed relentlessly on my heels through the thicket.